Good week, young ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the High Level Podcast. Thank you for joining us again. My name's Jonathan, your host, joined as always by my master of engineering. And by that, I mean he has a master's degree in mechanical engineering. Mr. Damon Hoenselaar, how are you this week?
I'm good in yourself. And just to iterate, I earned this degree. I didn't pay for it.
No, flip.
Well,
Man.
I did pay for it,
you
but
you paid.
I paid, but I studied for it.
You studied.
I paid for the opportunity to get it. Yeah,
the opportunity for education. That's what I like to hear.
Exactly
that. So I need to issue a public apology as requested by my wife on two things I've said in previous podcast episodes. So
sure, not even one offense.
Not one offense, two. So that's one per episode. So if this is a trend, first of all, that beautiful hat that I bought you, that I told you that I bought you. Do you remember that hat?
Yes, I do.
From Miami. I was told, and apparently I was too drunk to remember this, but I didn't actually pick that hat out. Jen picked it out for you, and I took credit on.
And you took the credit.
I took the credit, man. So that's all on me. On a public platform, nogal. I took full credit.
If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how we're going to get past this.
I hope that you will just hear me out and that we can move past this, but I understand that you might be angry.
I'm gonna need some time.
Take all the time you need, man. The second part of the apology, I don't know if you remember your life hack from last time, was that when you remove the garbage bag, put a new garbage bag in right there. And if you'll distinctly remember, I said, I take the garbage bag out and then message Jen when I'm leaving to tell her there's no garbage.
Yes.
Apparently, I don't do that. I must have like a compulsive lying thing. I feel like I did it once and now I've decided I do it every time. But instead, she says I leave her to find out, and then she throws something in the bin and it's all over the bin.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And now you must give a public apology for
this is public humiliation 101. So yes,
your sins are great.
My sins are great. All right. So when we traveled to the US recently, when was that actually? It feels long ago, like a month ago, month and a half.
It was a month ago, but it does feel like it was some time.
Right. It feels a bit long.
It was.
When we were walking around, like a lot, you see a lot of Teslas, a lot of Ford Mustang E's, they're electric vehicles. And not to say that prompted this episode, but we're talking EVs this episode. We're talking electric vehicles. Are they for us? Are they against us?
No, this is where you edit the banner.
Edit the banner. Just EVs. Is this the robot uprising, basically? So got some stats for you here, Mr. Hoenselaar, if you're ready to open your mind hole.
All right, I'm ready.
26 million EVs on the road globally, which I feel like feels like a lot, right? A lot of it's concentrated in China. 3 million in the US currently. A bit low on the US. I thought it would be more.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So, I mean, with Tesla, you feel like it would be more.
Yeah, right. But Tesla is the biggest seller there, so give them that. Depending on where you look, this is not reliable at all. But to fully charge an EV in South Africa, depending on which business tech article you look at, between 50 cents and 150 per kilometer. Now, I don't know about you. You probably know this better than me, but I get about 400 Ks when I put in 500 Rand. So it's about 125, and I'm driving a Polo Vivo. I don't know. Do you measure this? How much do you get?
I do measure this. I have a spreadsheet. It's about on my Suzuki Swift. I get about that. So I think yours would be a bit more.
Probably, yeah. Like I'm not saying my maths is perfect. I literally thumbsuck this. So call me 150, 175. But I mean,
I get about 20 kilometers on a liter. And
yeah, no, I don't think I'm
right now, what's it? It's about 25 Rand.
Yeah, call it.
So I get 25 about 20.
Whatever that is, 1 Rand and something. Don't do maths on a podcast. But anyway, so 1 Rand 25 to 175, call it, for our little cars. Obviously, you get a bigger car, it's going to be more expensive. So EVs, relatively cheap to refill. As I said, majority of EVs in 3 markets: China, Europe, US. And China leads the way with 60% of the concentration of EVs in the world. Massive.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Massive, man. 60% of 26 million. Again, do that math. Estimated by 2030 that EVs around the world will have avoided the use of 5 million barrels of oil per day. Are you impressed?
Per day.
Right? Per day.
That is.
Sounds impressive. Obviously.
How much do we use a day? I'd like to see the comparison.
You see, I'm just saying these as impressive numbers. I did not.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're avoiding 5 million, but
we use a billion.
What we use is like 100 billion. Or...
yeah. So no, I would assume it's good. I'm going to say it's good.
But no, that is a lot.
All right.
For me, that's a lot.
No, it's a lot, man. By the end of November 2023, the United States had reached 1 million annual EV sales for the first time. And that was a year-over-year growth of 51%. And a lot of that was Teslas being sold in the US. More than 1.4 million EVs sold in 2023 in the United States. Now, the way they do it, EVs includes like a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid with a battery on or whatever. So it's a bit skewed, but a lot of EVs. Since 2021, private sector has invested $21.5 billion in charging infrastructure. Now, this was in the US, but $21 billion, man. And as of 2023, there's more than 140,000 public chargers in the United States. Massive, massive. So
what was that research that you gave that we said we need?
Which one?
To I think it was when we did the hydrogen episode, where we said that wasn't that 21 billion close to that.
Oh, the what we need to invest in energy just to reach the climate goals. I think it was close to 30-40 billion. I mean, we can pull it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, 30-40 billion a year. So it just shows you when the private sector is incentivized, they're incentivized.
Yeah.
Like putting it out there.
Cool. So I guess when we think about electric vehicles, we start thinking, okay, fine, how are we going to charge these things? And we need electricity. So we got to start thinking about how is energy distributed in SA. So about 80% of the national total greenhouse gas emissions comes from energy generation or energy production. And 50% of those greenhouse gases, or that 50% of that 80%, makes sense?
Yep.
Comes from electricity generation and production of liquid fuels. And then a total of 28% of the final energy in the country is then consumed by transport.
That's massive.
And that's a fair amount, actually.
28%.
And so the transport sector accounts for 10.8% of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions, and road transport being responsible for 91.2% of that 10%. So we're talking about percentages of percentages, so it can get a bit confusing.
Yeah.
This study was pulled in 2015, and I think since then we don't really have a lot of trains going around anymore.
Yeah.
So I would reckon that 90% has probably gone up substantially since then.
Yeah, because I mean, what else would there be? Like, it's only really trains. We don't do a lot of transport by airplane. I don't know. Probably. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And also the Department of Trade and Industry has committed to a reduction of 5% of greenhouse gases by 2030. How do you feel like we're reaching towards that?
Dude, 5%. I don't know. I mean, with not a lot of like headway being made with Transnet, because a lot of it is Transnet is down, so everyone buys more trucks and puts more trucks on the road. So I think it's complex. I don't know how close we are. I would say my gut feeling is not very close, but got no data for that. You?
Do you think 5% is a reasonable metric or a reasonable goal?
I would think like 5%.
It feels like it's on the low side.
You know what I mean? Like it's to me, that's a manageable goal that they've set. but I
Yeah,
have no
maybe that's
context. So
yeah, and then yeah, and we're and like part of why we're trying to reduce our greenhouse gases is because we've submitted to the Paris Agreement, which I know like a couple of years back there was a big thing because Donald Trump pulled out of the Paris Agreement, and it's basically just a movement for the world to become greener.
yeah,
And according to that agreement, we're going to have about 2.9 million electric cars by 2050.
seems
And that's
steep
a
to
lot.
me. That seems steep to
And
me, man.
how many electric cars do we have now at the moment? Like in the world is 26 million.
In
So
20
like
in 2023, I'll just throw this out here. In 2023, there was like 1,000 electric cars sold in South Africa. 1,000.
and
2.9
that's
million.
high. And
Yeah, no, that's
that's a
massive.
high number
That's
for South
massive.
Africa.
2.9
Yeah.
million. I don't know. I don't see it, eh? Unless something
Yeah.
drastic changes. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
that's
I
their
mean
thing.
that's still a good 25 years, 24
I
years,
mean, yeah, when you
26.
put it like that,
Don't do
I don't know.
maths.
We do everything
Okay.
slowly in South Africa though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. And like obviously like the power stations are going to have to be the ones to power these cars, and is that really green? And yeah, so I mean, if we look at like the Medupi power station, it's the biggest coal power station that we have, and that produces about 4.7 gigawatts of power, which sounds like a lot, but when you got to think, I mean, you're providing a country with power.
Yeah, no,
And then
it's
we
not
can
a
look at
lot.
and then we can also look at Cuberg, which is providing about 1.86 gigawatts.
Yeah.
And those are our biggest producers. Obviously, there's other ones.
Yeah, there's quite a few
Do you
big
know if that's
coal
do you
stations.
know if the do you know off the top of your head what the total production capacity is
Total
in South
production
Africa?
for coal,
All the
yeah, for coal on its own is 39 gigawatts, which is the lion's share. And then Eskom as total, there's obviously a few small producers on the side. Eskom total is around 46 gigawatts peak, but we can only use like 50% of that. So call it like 25, 26 gigawatts. So yeah,
yeah.
that's the picture.
Yeah, and then there's obviously some stages where things are a bit more intense, like these cold winter nights,
Yeah, yeah,
that have, and then
100%.
they'll try to increase the peaking capacity with like hydroelectric, hydro pumped storage, gas turbines, that kind of stuff. But I
Yeah, so
understand that that's only for like when we need it.
yeah, so for people who don't have enough context around this, Eskom will provide a base load. So they obviously have a lot of customers and they know more or less what they want. And that's provided through coal and nuclear. And then if you need quick peaks, they have these quick things that you can turn on and off, such as a hydro power station or a gas turbine or whatever. And we apparently have about just off of 6 gigawatts of that peaking capacity, which, Mr. Hoenselaar, do you think they turn that on and off?
Who's to say?
Who's to say? I'm going to say no. Based on how much load shedding we've had. But yeah, it's interesting, and just looking at more or less how much is obtained from each sort of electric way of producing electricity. Sorry, my words are escaping me. Good for a podcaster, right? You can see there, I put this nice little graph. It's actually a very nice little graph. These are graphs are from Stellenbosch University, and they produce them like every month or two. So flip, I really like it. I think I might start following them. But anyway, in 2023, we had a full production. So this is everything combined: coal, nuclear, diesel and gas, wind, solar, all the things you can think of in South Africa where electricity is coming from. We produced about 166.5 terawatt hours for South African consumers. And that's industry, residential, everything. There you can see, there's my number as well, 39 gigawatt capacity for coal power stations. No new coal
Oh
power
yeah,
stations have come online. So that's pretty much what we got in terms of coal. And coal's our biggest one. It provides about
yeah,
72, 73% of all power needs in South Africa. So basically, no additional utility scale power has been added in the 2023 to 2024 period. So we've literally got this to work with, which estimates is about 46 gigawatts. But again, we can only use half of that, and that's coming from the Eskom CEO. So not a lot to work with is basically what we're trying to get at here. All right,
yeah.
Mr.
I'm ready.
Hoenselaar. So if we move on to that next graph there, you'll see, so it's an annual peak demand graph. And for those listening, it's basically a bar graph from 2010 all the way up to 2023 into Q1 of 2024. And the really sad thing to note about this graph is from 2010 to 2023, there's been no real like big growth in energy usage in South Africa. Now, if we're going to be completely reductionist about this, that means that there's been no new production plants coming online. There's not a lot of investment in manufacturing or whatever for producers that need a lot more energy. And obviously we know the stories. Eskom's been constrained. They've been going bankrupt. Generators are failing. We can get past that, right? But the sad thing to note, and it's all the people suffering who need jobs and things, is there's a very good link between the gross domestic product of a country and how much electricity they have access to. So I'll call this a failure on Eskom and government's part. Like, you've had 10 years to do something about it. And we've actually seen going from like 249 terawatt hours a year to 2023, call it 226 terawatt hours a year. So a lot less energy access and not a lot going on really in South Africa.
Yeah, and it's a scary graph, to be honest, because it's, when you look at that peak demand, there's that very clear downtrend as well.
Yeah.
Which means also,
and I mean, you can more or less understand 2020, that was COVID, so there was a bit of a drop off. But I mean, after that, we had everything starting up again. There's no excuse really, apart from the power stations breaking. So, I mean, and it's a hard relationship to balance, right? If you don't increase energy production, you constrain economic growth, right? And there's not more production, so there's not more GDP. But you need to bet on the fact that there will be production, so you need to build out electricity infrastructure, because if you don't make a bet on that, there definitely won't be economic growth. So it's a difficult thing, right? And everyone suffers at the bottom. And those who can put a nice solar system on their house, you suffer a bit less. But overall, South Africans are suffering from bad planning, call it. So yeah,
and again,
anyway.
it's something and demand is something you'd expect to go up over time as the economy and the country grows, but it's actually dropping, and that's what's scary.
And I mean, we're such a big manufacturing sector, especially for automotive. You would expect those factories with an increase in demand around the world for us to be ramping up, and they will require by nature a lot more power. So it would be good for Eskom if they could build it out, because then you have more customers and then you have more revenue. So you can build out more to have more customers and have more revenue. But they're just not getting over that hump. You know, they're sort of trying to fix everything as it breaks. So yeah, anyway,
What's that saying? Build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come. Have you seen Field of Dreams?
No.
Oh man, that's where it's from. It's from Field of Dreams. But yeah, so I think just in terms of where we stand as Eskom, because obviously Eskom supplies 98% of our power, this is sort of where Eskom stands. We've had no increase in like municipal national scale energy supply. And this is sort of how we're going to move into like, what are some of the problems and the challenges facing EV ownership in South Africa? And I think one of those is grid demand timing, Mr. Hoenselaar.
So yeah, when we think about electric vehicles, we think about, again, we want to charge them. And when do we want to charge it? And if we look at this last graph that's going to be displayed on the screen for the young viewers over there, you'll see that at around 6 a.m., that's when we start seeing the demand peak. And that's obviously when everyone's waking up and all the plants are starting, and basically the industry is starting for the day. Then you see a slight dip around lunchtime. That's obviously when things are going and everyone's winding down. And then at around 6 p.m., everyone's getting home and trying to make their supper and all that. So we see the demand increase a bit, and maybe now it's night shift at the places. So that's what we're kind of seeing there. And obviously the demand is greater in winter than in summer. And yeah, that gray at the top, that would be unserved energy. That would be energy that is required, but Eskom is just not providing us.
It's absolutely ridiculous, right? So for those of you who can't see, so there's a winter graph and a summer graph, basically. Obviously the winter has a higher peak, but there's basically all the power you can get from every energy source. It's like what, like 27 gigawatts there at about 6 o'clock. And actually what we needed was 31 gigawatts. So that's all electricity Eskom just couldn't supply to people. And then that probably results in load shedding, right? So yeah, scary graph. But you make a good point, because I mean, think about it now. Everyone goes to work, you come home. What's the first thing you're going to do when you come home? If you're parking your car in the garage, you're going to put your EV on charge because you don't want to walk back now at 9 o'clock and plug your car in, right? You're going to plug it in, leave it, go do your thing, spend time with your family, as you should, right? Shouldn't have to worry about these things. So yeah, very, very interesting little graph there, Mr. Hoenselaar. I think another thing we have to all consider, because we live in South Africa and we all know about it, is load shedding. Load shedding, my boy. And I'm sure you saw this graph. Massive.
Yeah.
I can't believe we lived through this. Like, I was actually shocked when I saw this. Also, I'm not exactly certain how they got this number or normalized it, because it didn't feel like we lived 78% in load shedding in 2023. But that's what this graph from Stellenbosch University says. In 2023, we spent 6,838 hours in load shedding, like as a person. Of a total in the year, if you take 24 hours times 365, of 8,760 hours, we spent 78% of that in some form of load shedding. How ridiculous is that?
Sure.
Man. And I mean, obviously, if you're going to get an EV, it's something you have to consider. You can't, because I mean, you can't imagine you call your boss in the morning. Sorry, boss, had load shedding.
I couldn't charge my car.
Couldn't charge my car, mate. Unlucky. So yeah, I think load shedding is a big one to consider. Obviously, we've had a very nice stretch now. I don't know how long you think this is going to go, but we've had a long stretch now, actually, of no load shedding. Do you think it's coming back, Mr. Hoenselaar?
I think the winter months will tell us.
The winter months will tell us. And we just started.
Yeah.
We
just started.
Have you ever looked at buying an EV?
No, that's not the kind of money I have in my pocket, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but how do you know if you've never looked? Maybe they're super cheap.
I don't know. I think the expectation is
it's going to be expensive. And you know what? Your expectation's correct, Mr. Hoenselaar. Absolutely correct. I must say, it's like an aspiration for me. I don't know why. I love electric. I'm sure you know. Like, I love it. The fact that you can put power directly, it's super efficient. There's no petrol. There's no, I flip and love EVs. So yeah, man, it breaks my heart how expensive they are. But yeah, if you look at EVs, they push expensive. I think that's the easy way to fucking put it, man. So
just to put it lightly.
Just to put it lightly. So I got a list here of the cheapest EVs in South Africa. One of the cheapest ones, I'll give you 4, yeah. So we got the Mini Cooper SE, if you've seen any of these going around, starts at 815,000 Rand, if you got that money laying around, and it gives you 200 kilometers of range. 200 kilometers of range. Terrible. Anyway, we're not here. Maybe Mini wants to sponsor us. If you want to sponsor us, we won't say no. Volvo EX30. Actually, it's the car I would get, Jen, if we could upgrade. Like, I really think it's nice. I think it looks swanky. You can see the picture there. Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Starts at 775. Get some nice range there, about 350 Ks of range. BYD.
That's decent.
BYD? Have you ever seen BYD?
No. Can't say I have.
They're a very big EV brand. They called the Tesla of China. So yeah, apparently they've been in South Africa, or they just got to South Africa. Their car starts at 768,000 Rand. Say that again, 768,000 Rand. The heck?
768,000 Rand.
Yeah.
And that's so far the cheapest option.
Right? For the range
that you're showing.
Yeah, for the range you get as well. Pretty good. Then, have you seen any of these GWM auras?
I think is that the one you showed me the other day?
Yes.
That looks like
quite a
sleek little thing.
Yeah.
It's like a little beetle.
Have you seen any of them? Man, I see a few.
Not on the road.
Is it? I've seen a few of them. And in Alberton, of all places, driving around. Where are these people in Alberton getting money from? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, I've thought about buying one, but obviously ridiculously expensive. I don't know if you have any thoughts on why they're so expensive.
Oh, I mean, I think part of it is like import tax. It's expensive to bring these things in.
Oh yeah.
It's like you get 25% import tax on electric vehicles. Whereas if you look at like combustion engines, it's only 18%. So obviously there's an incentive to not bring in
Yeah, literally.
EVs in the first place.
Literally.
And then after that, you get a ad valorem tax of up to 30%.
Man, that's
And that's
ridiculous.
crazy. So
That's ridiculous.
is
Like,
is that 30% after we've added the 25%
I'm not
on the import
exactly
tax?
sure how the maths would work out. All I know is it's ridiculous. Like, I'm sure you're ending up paying like double the amount of a normal car now, just in taxes. Like, freaking ridiculous. And I think, to me, and you know my suspicion on this, I think Parliament knows, government knows, the grid can't handle electric vehicles in South Africa. So let's not make it easy for people to get. That's my suspicion. Obviously, built on nothing more than conjecture. But like, if it was me, I would say that. You?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old-fashioned chicken and egg dilemma
How is
over
it?
here, as well. People don't want to buy electric vehicles because they don't think the infrastructure is there. So they're
Yeah.
not willing to. I mean, why would I buy a car that I can't drive? And then at the same time, if you look at from the investor side, why would anyone build infrastructure if there's no demand? So at some point there needs to be a someone to say, okay, let's push both sides of the
Yeah, let's
equation
let's
and see,
incentivize it both
can we
ways.
get things moving forward?
Yeah. And I don't think that's going to have, I don't think there's enough money in consumers' pockets. I mean, flip, we like paying 30-40% more for groceries now. Like there's just no more money to do a cool technology like this, even if I wanted to. Plus the fact that I must now install a full solar system on my house just to charge the thing so that I don't crash the grid. So it's a difficult one,
Uh,
man. Um, all right, sweet. So, Mr. Hoenselaar, I found a very angry, what I assume to be a white man. Um,
an angry one.
an angry white man called Tinus Boyson. And I'm not saying anything wrong with him, but it was a really cool article to read. I'll be honest. He sort of put all the facts out there. He's a professor of industrial engineering and Internet of Things research chair. And basically they did like a little interview with him about if he thinks the grid's got capacity for EVs and things like that. And he has a nice quote from him. The short answer is that we do not have sufficient electricity available for EVs to charge them from the grid in South Africa. So, I mean, industrial engineer, I'll take his word for it. But we did
Short
some
and
math.
sweet and
Short and
and
sweet and to the
sensible.
point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we did a quick sum. So I did a quick sum for you. All right. So I was just looking now, if I'm going to buy an EV and I want to buy a little wall charger because I don't want to charge it from my toaster outlet, right? So you can get a Victron EV charger for about 10 grand. We're not going to break the bank at all. Some OEMs even sell one with the car. So, and it's either a 22 kilowatt three phase, which is obviously the one you want because you're going to charge your car quicker, or you can use a single phase, which would be like charging from the plug, but it's at 7.3 kilowatts, right? So there's those two options. And I did a little sum with you since the whole point of this episode is to see how many EVs it will take to break the grid, right? So if we be a bit generous, we're going to use the single phase one now, 7.3 kilowatts at a time. So this would be per household or per car, whatever you want to say. Now, you remember I told you we have about 39 gigawatts of coal capacity, and that's coal capacity.
Indeed.
That like South Africans know coal. We know how to build a coal power station, believe it or not. It breaks all the time, but that's because it's operating 20 years past when it was supposed to be decommissioned, right? So we know coal, 39 gigawatts. It would only take 5.5 million cars plugging in at the same time on the 7 kilowatts on the small charger to exceed the capacity that we have on all the coal power stations. 5.5 million vehicles. Sounds like a lot, right? Sounds like a
I
lot,
mean, if we look at that by 2050
right?
thing from
2.9
the
million,
Paris thing, that's 2.9. So that's lower. So
right?
that's already kind of a reasonable
And now
thing.
if
But
you,
I guess you got to take into account that we're already not meeting that demand.
exactly. Also, so we're not meeting the demand, right? And also, let's play devil's advocate now. No, Eskom will build more capacity by 2050. Since 2010, they haven't built more capacity. Come now. Come now. All right, fair enough. Okay, but that was me just being like what would it take to get to coal's capacity, right? Let's see, we've got about 7.8 million normal combustion vehicles in South Africa. So 5.5 million, if they're really going for it, we could replace most of it. What's that? 60-70% of all vehicles with an EV. That would take up all the coal power stations we have. And then you lose the whole thing of I'm being green and eco-friendly because you're charging from coal, right? So I said, okay, let's see how much capacity we actually got here. And you see there my little quote. Like I said to you, we've only got, they say they have 47,500 megawatts, so 47 gigawatts of capacity. But the interim CEO now, what's his name? Caleb Kasim, literally says we can only use 26,500 gigawatts. So let's all just remember that. Okay, and remember that graph you showed us. We have no extra capacity. There's nothing left. There's absolutely fuck all left. So if we go again now, yeah.
Well, when you put it like that, it seems very optimistic.
Fuck all, my bro. If now we go and we say at 6 o'clock, everyone's going to plug their cars in, which is high. I think that's a reasonable estimation. Like people are going to get home and charge their cars. Agreed? Disagreed?
Agreed. I mean, you'll get the some people that kind of realize that it will break the grid, so
the people that care.
Set it up.
Ah, bullshit, man. Give me people that care. Give me people that care. All right. So to put this in context, that graph you showed us, those peaks. In summer, it was about 28 gigawatts, and winter was 31 gigawatts. Those were those peaks at 6 in the evening. So it would only take 137,000 EVs charging on a slow charger to hit 1 gigawatt. Now remember, that's 1 gigawatt we don't have. Eskom can't serve anything more than our peaks. They struggle to serve the peaks. 1 gigawatt, 137,000 cars. Not a long way away. If we all have 22 kilowatt chargers, right, only takes 45,000 cars. 45,000 cars. There's currently like 1,500, 2,000 EVs in South Africa. It won't take long if you take away those taxes to get to 45,000 cars. And then we're destroying the grid because there's no capacity. So I guess the moral of the story is, thank goodness we only sold 1,000 electric vehicles last year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have anything left to give. So yeah, that's my biggest. That was probably quite a bitching session I had there. I feel a bit bitchy.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no. You really, like, you went a bit red in the face. I could
getting angry.
I could feel the emotions coming out there.
It's just sad, man. The other thing which I'll end off on, yeah. Important to remember, it's not only at grid level where you've got the problem now. You have the way electricity is distributed in most countries in the world is you have the big power station, then you transmit that voltage over long runs of cable, which you guys will have seen, the pylons and things. And then it comes to your neighborhood substation where it gets stepped down to the voltage that you need at your house. And those transformer stations only have so much capacity. Already, a lot of them can't handle the current capacity. Now you're going to go put a few 22 kilowatt chargers in your neighborhood. It will break not only the national grid, but your little transformer station. So I think, in summary, on just this point of grid capacity, we constrained at national level. You constrained it like your neighborhood level. And I don't think it's an easy fight to win until Eskom really starts investing a lot more in infrastructure. Up to that point, I don't think EVs are good for South Africa. You agree? Disagree?
No. I mean, the facts are the facts.
I presented a compelling case.
Yeah, it was very compelling. I mean, it's like you say, like everyone thinks they're being green, but like you got to look at where are you charging your car, but from where?
Yeah,
from
literally.
coal power.
Exactly. And I think that graph you presented in the beginning, solar is at its maximum production during the day when no one's charging their car. Who's charging their car? Unless your office park has a solar installation, you're not charging your car. You're charging your car. Let's all be real. You're going to be charging your car off coal. And then is that the best for the environment? So I guess that's the summary, right? The grid just can't handle it. And I think, again, we got to look at a lot of people will do this to save a bit of money and things like that, but a lot of them are going to be doing it to be environmentally friendly. And I think we got some evidence against that, Mr. Hoenselaar.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we compare South Africa and the EU, South Africa produces about 950 grams of CO2 that gets emitted into the atmosphere per kilowatt hour. And if we compare that to the EU, per kilowatt hour, that's about 429 grams. That's more than double.
That's ridiculous, eh? Just to deliver
if you,
electricity. It's crazy. But again, because we rely so much on coal.
And then if you want to look at charging an electric vehicle with a battery size of 60 kilowatt hours, traveling about 300 kilometers. Is that kilometers a second?
No, it's just kilometers.
Oh,
It's just the plural.
See, what kind of a person
What kind of a
pluralizes a unit?
kilometers?
I'm actually, you know what? I'm actually a little bit disgusted. There's a bad taste in my mouth.
Bad taste in your mouth.
Okay, I'm gonna say that sentence. I'm gonna say that sentence again.
Go for it.
And now, if we look at charging an electric vehicle with a battery size of 60 kilowatt hours, traveling about 300 kilometers on a single charge, that results in about 200 grams of CO2 per kilometer.
That doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
Is that a lot?
And then, I mean, like, power usage, that's where it's coming from, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you're charging your car.
No, fair. But I mean, 200 grams doesn't, I don't know. Well, I guess it's comparative.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to compare it to a combustion engine, the CO2 emission rate of motor cars in 2015 averages about 148 grams of CO2 per kilometer. So if you actually look at it in that way,
it's 25% greater.
Yeah. So if you're charging your electric vehicle using coal power, you're actually putting in 50 grams more CO2 per kilometer.
Yeah, than just using your normal petrol Suzuki. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but globally, electric vehicles produce on average about 95 grams of CO2 per kilometer.
Yeah. So I think it's fair. I mean, it's what you're aiming towards, right? It's what you would hope for. But in South Africa, like, because we depend so much on coal, that 200 grams of CO2 per kilometer is our life.
Exactly.
All right. And then I think the final one, because obviously it will be something to consider if you're going to buy an EV in South Africa, is charging infrastructure. Do we have a lot? Do we have a little? Is there enough? Not. There's about 350 public charging stations. Now, to give that perspective, you remember in the beginning, I told you there's 140,000 charging stations in America. Now, America's different and they have very big hamburgers and things, but like 350 public charging stations in South Africa, and many of them are OEM supplied. It's not like government things. A lot from Audi. I don't know if you've ever seen the Audi ones. A lot of Jaguar ones, Mercedes ones, a lot of them in dealerships and stuff. So the OEMs do try make an effort. I've seen quite a few actually around Melrose, Mall of Africa, things like that. Audi's just built a very fast charger, 200 kilowatt charger.
I think at Megawatt Park.
Is there?
There's charging stations there. I don't know if it's fast charging, but
well, I mean, yes, if they like trying to predict their own downfall now. I mean, gee, whiskers. But yeah, Audi has a 200 kilowatt fast charger at Mall of Africa. Jaguar and this was interesting actually. Jaguar and Land Rover have partnered with Grid Cars, some startup, I don't know who they are, to invest 30 million rand in charging infrastructure. So I mean, a decent amount. And I didn't put the map here, but it's basically like joining like Gauteng to Durban and Durban to PE and things. So they want to create it so you could have a road trip down to Cape Town. So there's quite a few of those. There's a long way to go, but there is a bit of a push to it. I'll give the guys credit on this for having 1,000 cars in the country to have 350 charging stations. Actually a pretty good ratio. I'll give you that much. But as it starts to grow, I don't know how much that multiplies out. So, Mr. Hoenselaar, yay, nay? EVs? No EVs?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't know. I think there are
very
some. I think
conservative.
there are some interesting applications, but I think one quite a niche application for South Africa or maybe even Africa is electric vehicles are very quiet, so that makes them very perfect for game drives.
Very perfect. No, I could see
Yeah,
that, eh?
because you're not gonna startle the wildebeest. You can get right up close and personal with it.
It's nice, man.
And then
When I saw you put that in, I was like, that actually makes so much sense. Like, and you're not going long distances on a game drive. You literally just chill most of the time, then you move to the next spot. Makes a lot of sense.
yeah, and then mining, which is the biggest, arguably the biggest industry in South Africa.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at underground mining, electric vehicles, they reduce the requirements for cooling and ventilation because you're not producing those fumes.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, I think there's also some applications there as well. But
And
yeah,
again, I
we'll
mean,
see how it
underground
goes.
mining, you're not driving very, very far. Like you could easily get away with the EV there. So yeah, I could see that working as well. But hope is not lost for those of you looking to be a bit more eco-friendly with your vehicle. There are some alternatives, Mr. Hoenselaar, and I will present them to you. Do with them as you will. This is free information, so use it, don't use it. I think the key to remember here is internal combustion's never going away. Well, not never, not going away soon in South Africa.
Never's a very long time.
Never's a very long time, right? So petrol and diesel, I think, are here to stay unless prices get prohibitively expensive, but they're here to stay. One of the things you can do, and people probably won't like this, is you're not happy with how much petrol you're allocating every month, buy a smaller car. It's a very simple physics thing. If your car is less heavy, you will use less fuel to push it.
Yeah, and like unless you going on the mines or you have like an industry
Yeah,
related
unless it's for
career
work. Yeah, fair.
and like a construction thing, you don't need a bucky.
No, but you need a bucky to look cool. So how do you circle that square, Mr. Hoenselaar?
I mean, uh, your argument is just too convincing. I don't. There's no words that can come out of my mouth that will convince me otherwise. It's your
The answer you
that
should have
I
given,
should have
yeah, should have
just
just
be
what?
cool.
Just be cool. No, the
Just be
answer you
cool.
should have been given is buy good brandy, right? So the other alternative is if you have an ICE vehicle, and I'm not recommending this, no research into this whatsoever, don't know if it's good or bad, but there are little CNG conversions, so compressed natural gas conversions that you can do to your engine to sort of make your fuel efficiency a bit better, combustion, whatever. I don't know what the story is. I haven't looked into it enough. I'm not saying it's good. I'm pretty sure if you do it on your car that has a warranty, you will not have the warranty anymore. So do not do that. But if your car's out of warranty, it's super old, maybe look into it. From what I could see, it costs about 30,000 Rand to do a CNG installation. And it literally just injects with your petrol into your engine head, as far as I understand. You lose a lot of your boot because they put like a big, like the gas bottles you use for your heater and things. They put that basically
Hmm.
in your boot. And then obviously make sure there's a place to refill nearby. You can't just go to a Midas and refill. You have to go to a CNG station. So make sure that's there. But there's been pretty good results that's showing reduced fuel consumption overall, obviously, because now you're complementing with CNG, your price per liter will go down because you got extra fuel to burn. So there is that option for those of you who feel adventurous. Next one, obviously, is hybrids. Hybrids are like a real option, a much better option, in my opinion, than EVs. You get plug-in hybrids where you plug in and charge the battery, or you get a traditional hybrid where it's the engine charging the batteries themselves.
Whenever,
Yeah,
whenever one, whenever anyone says hybrid, I always think of the Prius.
the Prius, the
Yeah,
Prius.
yeah. That's what I think about. That's always like it's just in my mind that is like the
Think
flagship
about it.
hybrid car.
Think about it, Mr. Hoenselaar. I like it. No, they're good cars. They're good cars. Good for the environment, no matter what you say.
I
In
hear they
South,
slow though.
they are slow, but who cares, man? You can only go 120 on the highway. That's all you need. It's all you need. So there's about 6,500 hybrid electric vehicles sold in South Africa in 2023. And that was 60% more than 2022. So it shows there is some interest from South Africans. And what's nice is you don't have range anxiety. You don't have to think, where am I going to charge my car, things like that, because you've got a petrol or a diesel engine on board as well. I didn't know. So the guy who wrote this article was very impressed that plug-in hybrid vehicles went from 122 sold in 2022 to 267 sold in 2023. I'm like, but that's a rounding error, man. But he was very excited. So yeah, there's interest in hybrids. A lot of the Chinese guys seen a lot of Haval hybrids driving around. So yeah, I think it's a good option, to be honest. Have you ever considered a hybrid?
I have considered it.
I think it's a reasonable thing to consider.
Yeah.
And then the final one for those boys looking for a bit of an extra one, yeah, we got some fuel cell electric vehicles, our baby.
Ooh,
Right.
yeah.
There's no hydrogen vehicles in South Africa. Sorry about that. Shouldn't have even added this point if I'm looking back on it now.
Now I'm just disappointed.
Now you're just disappointed. But BMW is looking, they're bringing in an iX5, which is going to be a pilot program for a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle in South Africa. I'm not holding my breath. You holding your breath?
Not at the moment.
Not too bad. You must watch the video the other day about hydrogen vehicles. Was it enjoyable?
It was interesting. Like, so it's obviously an interesting thing, and I think it's a move in the right direction.
In a direction.
In a direction. Yeah, maybe. But I just remember the guy was like, looks cool, but let me show you inside. And there's just like no space because like all
the
your
tanks
space
take
is
up so
taken
much
up.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe as that technology improves,
we can only hope. Metal hydrides all the way. All the way.
Yeah.
All right. So we've given our thoughts now. EVs, not yet. There's some alternatives, but I think, Mr. Hoenselaar, we have a good idea for where we think South Africa still has a role to play in EVs. And I think that's with you now. So what's your thoughts here?
So I think with the grid capacity, us on the consumer side is not really going to be feasible, at least not right now.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of potential for South Africa in the realm of manufacturing. I mean, the Department of Trade and Industry, they in 2015 they put out an industrial policy action plan, and essentially they said that EVs are earmarked as an investment opportunity. And according to like the University of Cape Town Energy Research Center, net job creation is possible if SA increases component and manufacture for exports. And another thing to consider is South Africa has a patent on lithium manganese dioxide, which is a preferred cathode technology in lithium-ion batteries. South Africa is also,
I had no idea
the world.
We have this patent. It's awesome.
Yeah. When I found it, it was bold. I was like,
it was bold.
Whoever wrote this was very proud of that fact.
We should put up a billboard, man.
Yeah. Also, South Africa is the world's largest producer of manganese in the world.
In the world.
And yeah, and where we produce about 6.2 million tons per year. And the majority of the manganese mining is concentrated in the Kalahari Desert, which is believed to hold more than 70% of global reserves.
Man, we got a monopoly on this. Monopoly.
Yeah. And I don't know, this figure seems a bit vague to me, but they say that about 6.5 trillion rand is to be invested into the electric vehicle industry in South Africa within the next 4 decades or so. I don't know if that's going to go into infrastructure or if that's going to go into production capacity.
I don't think they know vague. Either. I don't think they know either.
Yeah, I think they just saw, yeah.
I want to meet the person who thumbsucked that number as well. 6.5 trillion. And you give there's no background around it, just lacquer. I wish we could do that, man.
Yeah. And then look, another thing to consider is South Africa, we could, what was that figure now? It was like 12%.
They're at the bottom. Yeah. They're those bullet points.
Yeah. So according to Okay, let me just say that there.
Go
Okay,
for it.
so yeah, and according to the South African Automotive Export Manual 2022, 4.3% of SA's GDP is coming from the automotive industry, and 2.4 of that 4.3. So it's not 2.4% of the 4.3, 2.4% is coming from manufacturing. About 1.9% is coming from the retail of vehicles, so people buying cars and stuff. And then in 2021, exports of vehicles and components from SA came to about 207.5 billion rand,
Yes.
which is about 12.5% of South African exports.
Massive.
And yeah, and the automotive industry accounts for about 17.3% of the country's manufacturing exports. And that's all coming from our automotive assembly industry. And a very interesting thing I read was that the European Union has officially banned the sale of all new internal combustion engine vehicles by 2035.
Yeah.
So that holds a great risk to us because we are producing internal combustion engines, and the European Green New Deal has a target of ensuring that the Eurozone is carbon neutral by 2015, and that will increase pressure to use renewable energy for industrial processes to protect existing export markets. So whether South Africa likes it or not, if they want to keep their automotive industry alive, they're going to have to start gearing towards manufacturing electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of potential for that. And I think you do too.
It's also not like, it's not a small part of GDP, right? Almost 5% of GDP. You can't just sort of throw your hands up and be like, oh, we combustion engines. Like, you have to start modernizing, and you got to start modernizing now. Like, they aren't going to wait.
Adapt or die.
Adapt or die. No, that's very interesting, Mr. Hoenselaar. I didn't actually know that we export so much. And that was in 2021, 207 billion rand. Like, it's a little bit of money.
Nice graphy there for you.
Like,
so yeah, they're talking about where's our market potential, and that's basically local lithium ion cell manufacturing, also local manufacturing and electrification of public transport, electric micro mobility for last mile delivery, and local manufacturing of electric private passenger vehicles. So let's focus a little bit more on the extreme. So low ease of market, but also low potential is lithium ion cell manufacturing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, we're the biggest producer, but it's low. They say that it's low market potential, but high market potential and also high ease of market entry is electric micro mobility for last mile delivery. Yeah. So that's going to be your Uber guys driving his little electric to get to your pizza on time. I mean, you know, those guys are the real heroes.
Yeah, they're the real heroes. But yeah, I think I'm there for manufacturing, man. I think it'll add so many jobs, so much GDP. Like, I'm here for manufacturing. Let's modernize the production lines. Yeah, I'm here for it.
And we've also got some big manufacturers in South Africa. I mean, we've got in Gauteng, we've got BMW and Ford, and also Nissan. And in the Eastern Cape, we've got Mercedes and VW groups. And then in KwaZulu-Natal, we've got Toyota, and we've also got Isuzu in the Eastern Cape as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and
there's
like
potential.
And VW, they want to put in 2035, they plan on releasing an electric US SUV designed specifically for the African market.
Well, a long way away. I mean, 10 years. But I mean, yeah, it'll be cool if it's grown here, if they make it here, and we can drive these EVs in South Africa. But yeah, I think exports again, man.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you really want to get into this, what brands, because you kind of already spoke about that.
We've already gone into it.
All right, so yeah.
All right, Mr. Hoenselaar.
So we can kind of wrap everything up now. Get into the juicy bits.
Thank you, Mr. Hoenselaar. I think it's that time again. It's that time of the month for permission to bitch. We need a jingle for this, man. We need a little, Come on, put your
I'll make
musical
it happen.
talents to use, please. Please,
Oh,
please, man. I see you haven't put anything there, so I'll kick us off. So first one, small one, but very irritating. I have a few people like this. You message them a WhatsApp message. Maybe you have 2 or 3 questions in your little message. They reply back with multiple messages. And it'll always be, hi, how are you? Hope you well. Hope your mom's well. This is the answer to the first question. This is the answer to the second question. What? No, type one message, send me one message. I don't know if you have this feeling as well. It's really fucking irritating.
for me, it's more like when you just get a message and it says, "Hey,"
Oh, fucking hate
and
it.
then you're
And it's
like,
also a number you
and then
don't know.
and then you're like, no, it'll be like from a friend or someone, and you're like, "Hey, hello," and then he'll ask you like, "Oh, do you want to do this cool thing or whatever?" I'm like, why do you need to first like introduce the conversation? Just say hello, like just get into it. I don't.
Like
Maybe I'm just
Wednesday, 6 o'clock, dinner. You in? You're not in. Go. Come now. Get to the point. We're too
yeah.
old for this bullshit. You know, dancing around it. Hey, how are you? Nah. Just get to the point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But I
that
see
was
you
mine.
have yet another
Well, I
permission to
have
bitch.
just a follow-up on my last permission to bitch. That fucking sink downstairs. All right. So it's complete. We got it
The
in.
saga continues.
We got it in on the weekend, no problem. Went, exchanged the whole freaking sink, had a call with Jen because she wasn't there, and I can't buy things without the permission of my wife. So I was like, listen, this is how this one looks. Send pictures, take this one, not this one, what. Get sink back, install sink, lacquer. So now we're done, man. What went from replacing a rubber on a tap, just a rubber, I spent 3 or 4 thousand rand later for a new cabinet, new taps, new everything, but it's done and it looks suave. You must have a look when you come over. But tick it off the
Ah,
list.
no, I'm excited now.
And you, anything to bitch about?
Not off the top of my head.
Ah,
Next week I'll really.
you've been very positive these last 2 episodes. I feel like I'm the
Yeah,
only one bitching. Is it
yeah,
just
I'm
me?
sure. It's just that like I'm sure there's lots for me to bitch about, but like the moment I sit down and like try to commit on bitching about something, I'm like,
What is there to bitch about? Life is so good.
yeah,
You're making me sick.
yeah. The things I feel like I bitch about, everyone bitches about. So
Yeah, but we're just bringing it to light. Some people just like solidarity.
wait, I know what I can bitch about. I know what I can bitch about.
Tell me.
So on it was the 29th of May,
Yeah.
South Africa had our
Oh, yes.
general elections. And you know what? For me, it was supposed to be a chill day.
Of course, yes.
I woke up, I was in a good mood. And, later now we thought, we'll get voting done nice and early. And then the rest of the day we can just enjoy as our public holiday.
Exactly.
I mean, so I get out of bed at about 9 o'clock. I start looking for my ID. The voting station is just up the road. So, we even think we'll get our daily exercise in as well,
Oh, we'll
do it
walk
all in
there.
one go.
Oh, my word.
Just epitome of efficiency.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find my ID anywhere. We looked for an hour. We opened every cupboard, emptied every chest, emptied every drawer. It was just nowhere to be found. And at this point, I'm like, when did I last have it? When did you last have it? I mean, look, we came to the conclusive conclusion
The
that I
conclusive
lost it somehow.
conclusion.
It was me. I don't know when, I don't know how, but it's gone. So
Yeah.
I even phoned my mom. And I moved out like a while ago. So like there's no chance it's there. But
Yeah.
that last ditch effort, it's like this is the
Maybe.
last place it could
Maybe.
be. So I was like, please just look. And then my mom's like, oh no, but you can go to Home Affairs and just get a temporary ID and whatever. And yeah, no, my sister also lost it. So maybe this was like a twin thing. So eventually I phoned her. I'm like, look, I'm gonna bite the bullets. I'm gonna go to Home Affairs. We get there, I think, at about 11:30, right? And we wait in a line. Nothing happens. The security guard's even like, "Why did you lose
Ah,
your ID?" You know,
yeah,
we've
yeah.
had 350 applicants for temporary IDs today. And I was just thinking to myself, do you think I chose to lose my ID?
Yeah, dude, they don't
Anyway,
care. Yeah.
and then nothing, and they were like, "Our system's down," you know,
Ah,
that.
the usual. Yeah.
But magically at 1 o'clock, things just
It
started
switched
moving.
on.
And eventually, yeah, magically at 1 o'clock after lunchtime. Shame. And there was this one woman. So the lines were taking so long because you have to validate your fingerprint, and then you have to go get a ticket, and then you can pay, and then they'll go and print your temporary ID for you.
As you do, yeah.
But that process was taking so long that there's a time limit between when you get your fingerprints validated and when you go and print your ID for before
Oh, they've
they.
put a little time thingy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a time thing. So when I get there, the lady's like, "Nah, your fingerprints aren't valid. You have to go back." And then the lady who was taking everyone's fingerprints got so hurtful that she helped everyone revalidate, and she went to that office, and then she like put a like honestly, I felt that day like I should have voted for that woman.
You should have, man. All the
I
way.
should have like, yeah. But then afterwards, voting was pretty quick in my area. Literally walk in, walk out, went to Mug and Bean because I had to apologize to the
Yes.
lady
No, of course,
for
yes.
ruining the day.
No, of course.
Got her some nice cake and cappuccino, had a
Nice,
good
solid.
time, and
Yeah.
that was that.
Flip,
So
man.
yeah, that
So
is my permission to bitch.
so the voting that would have been at like 7, 8 o'clock ended up being at what, 2, 3 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
What a waste of a public holiday. I blame you for this.
No,
100%.
no, no, no. I am the problem.
Oh goodness, Mr. Hoenselaar, please tell me why your life hack is cabbage. I've been wondering
My
about it the
life,
whole week, man.
and I purposely didn't tell you about this. So, so to know about cabbage, you need to know about lettuce. So the
Okay.
thing about lettuce is you can't you can't cook lettuce. You can't put it in the microwave. As you know, I've tried.
Yes, no, I remember that day. It was terrible.
Lettuce also goes off fairly quickly,
Got you.
but cabbage
Yeah,
doesn't go
yes.
off as quickly.
Okay.
Cabbage is more dense, so you don't use as much of it.
Okay.
And everything you can do with the lettuce, you can do with the cabbage. And it's cheap, and it lasts longer, and it comes in. So we got this bigger than my head for like 24 rand. And
Yeah.
I think that was like 3 weeks ago. Still in the fridge, still okay.
So cabbage
Cabbage,
is your drop-in replacement here for every other green vegetable.
maybe not every other green vegetable, but lettuce.
But
And
let's
look, I've got no hate for lettuce. Don't get
no,
me wrong here.
of course not.
But like just from a purely economical point of view, cabbage is just the superior food product.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
That
That's what you like.
yeah.
All right, my one was just you know, Moss, I've been intermittent fasting for years now. I'm actually trying to remember. I started when I started at our current at FlowSolve. I started intermittent fasting. So in 2020. So I've been doing it for like call it 4 years now. And for me, it's just such a time saver. I've sort of gotten over the whole makes you feel healthier crap because maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Not too seker. But the amount of time you save cooking and cleaning up after you're cooking, like I have I have all my food in one sitting and it's like 2 or 3 meals. And then it's done. And I can even pre-package that for the whole week. As a convenience, intermittent fasting. Health benefits, I'll leave that to the doctors. But that's my hack. That's my hack for the week. Are you going to make
How
the
long did
change?
it take you to how long did it take you to get used to intermittent fasting?
It didn't, you know what's nice about the time? So I choose to eat at like 6, 7 at night. It's nice because at work, I'm not really thinking, I'm thinking about other things. So you don't have time to be bored and think about food. So it took me, I'd say like the first month was difficult. I remember like I would think about food a bit, and you sort of get hungry at the normal times you would get hungry because it's like a habit now. But after the first month, it started to break. At like 6 months, it was just how I was. There wasn't any, like, don't get headaches, don't get anything, don't feel anything. I'm just more productive the whole day. So yeah, I mean, 6 months, give it 6 months.
And you say it's mainly just because you're not wasting time
That's like I feel better.
thinking and
I won't don't get me wrong. It might be Dunning-Kruger. I don't know. But all I'm saying is I feel better. I'm more productive. I'm not saying it's because of intermittent fasting. Maybe it's all the sex I'm having. I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say?
All right.
All right, we're skipping memes this week, Mr. Hoenselaar. We've run a bit long, yeah? Let's hit recommendations. What's your recommendations?
My recommendation is Ice Age. Recently watched it. It aged very well.
Is it? The first one?
It aged very well. Yeah, the first one.
Nice, man. And would you recommend? 100%?
100%, 10 out of 10 would do it again.
Would do it again. All right, sweet. From my side, got a few here. And don't worry about that second bullet point. I know you're looking at that and you're going, what's gone wrong with my boy? You know, what's going on here? He's watching Bridgerton. Hated it. You know, I tried to like it. I really tried to like it. I really did. And maybe I'm not giving it a fair chance. I can't understand how Jen watches it, man. I can't explain it. Can you explain
no,
it?
it's just a.
Have you watched it?
It's not for me. I've seen an episode or two, but for me, I just don't get it, man.
I don't understand. It's so boring and stupid. But you know what? I'll try again because we started watching it from season 1 again. And like Jen watched it a bit without me. So I was like, yes, all right. You obviously want to watch it so badly. But every episode I watch is like pulling nails. So yeah, would not recommend. I actually wonder what the Rotten Tomatoes is on Bridgerton. Anyway, Blood of Zeus. Finished watching that. It's 2 seasons. That anime I told you on Netflix. Actually, quite enjoyed it. Good storyline. The ending is a bit like, I don't know, like he has to become now, to move into the next phase, become a god of forgiveness. And like, because forgiveness is the higher, right? Like, you want to throw up a bit.
I mean, that's not what you think about when you think of the Greek gods. You
know what I mean?
You think of just muscles and power, and
I wouldn't say it's a bit it's a bit of a letdown. I'll give you that much, but that's it. So it was good. I enjoyed it. Good storyline. I thought the action was cool. Would recommend. Definitely. Can't wait for season 3, I'll be honest, even with the weird ending. Then last one I've been watching as well. Not sure if you're too interested in like historical things, but Turning Point. It's the Cold War and the bomb or something like that. But basically obviously about the Cold War between the US and the Soviets and how the Soviets fell. Honestly, it's made me realize that the whole world's just made up. Honestly, the way Putin came to power, mate, he was a low-level KGB agent who got stationed somewhere in Germany. Then he came back to Russia. The president was dying at the time, decided to promote him to prime minister for no reason. And then he was like, I like this oak, he can be the next president. It's all made up. It's all a load of bullshit. But anyway, very cool. Cool to see how Putin came up and all the thoughts he has around Ukraine and things. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I don't know if do you enjoy stuff like that?
I do.
Sometimes.
I'll give it a try.
Give it a try. Give it a try.
I must make a list of all these things.
I think so as well. Like we need to have a list just going and see what we can tick off. Because I haven't watched any of the stuff. Like I'll go watch Ice Age again. 100%. 100%. 100%. All right,
Mr. Aged so well, honestly.
Is it? Gotta get back to it. All right, Mr. Hoenselaar, is that all from you this week?
Yeah, that is all from me. Yeah, that was a very long episode.
That was a goodie. That was a goodie, man. Don't worry. It'll be good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. For anyone that did listen all the way to the end, thank you so much for listening. You can get in contact with us. The email is highlevelpodcasts with an S at gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. It's at High Level Podcasts. Please feel free to actually subscribe on your podcast, wherever you're listening to this podcast. If it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, hit that subscribe button. Give us a review. Tell us whatever you want there, something nice, something about a dog. I want a good story about a dog, man. I don't know why. I've been listing one lately. Anyway, getting off topic, give us your reviews, hit subscribe. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Go well.
Nice. I feel like you got to end everyone like that.
Go well. Like you give this whole long-winded, thing. Cheers.
Go well. Godspeed.